Greetings and blessings to each one that takes the time to watch this video. I hope that you're doing well today. I am outside, so there might be some noises, hopefully mostly birds, for which I apologize for the other noises. But I'd like to discuss something that was brought up in a comment and make some content that was requested. And it was an excellent comment, excellent topics that I'm excited to talk about. The comment referenced the fact of bridging this gap between the deeper spiritual things. It was actually in regards to a video that I'll link in the description below where I talked about the chakra system and the universal understanding of the chakra system, especially as it pertained to its roots that it has in the Judeo-Christian background. And so I'll link that below. And it was in regards to how can we unify Christ and also these spiritual mysteries in a way that makes it so powerful, because there is power found there, without feeling like we have to throw out one or the other. In other words, throw out or pick between Jesus or some deeper spirituality, and we don't have to pick between it because it's all one. And I hope to show that here. And so the comment asked how can, or asked to make some comments on crystal work, energy work, especially crystals, and how to avoid demonic type stuff and differentiate between demonic. And so I want to make some comments, and I think this video will be good whether you come from a Christian background and you have those concerns that some of these things are or could be demonic, or it'll be good for that. Or maybe you're a spiritual person who practices certain things and you catch a lot of flack from religious people. I hope this video will be good for you as well, just understanding how this whole thing, how to understand this whole situation. So first of all, let's talk about crystal work. And I think it's so key to note that when it comes to energy work and things such as crystals, there's as much to say about that from a scientific perspective as there is from a spiritual perspective. And especially in the Western world, we've neglected, in medicine as a whole, Western medicine has neglected for a large part understanding the energetic systems of life and of our body. You know, we understand a lot of other things like chemical systems, or we treat a lot of physical symptoms that neglects the very real energetic system that is just as real. And so we could understand, and I've said this before in a variety of contexts to people, that even if you're not religious, you can still get behind energy work because it's just as scientific. And I think this has relevance to where Christians call stuff like that demonic, often because it's unfamiliar, or to them, excuse me, to them oftentimes it reminds them of stuff they've seen in other religions and it scares them. And I like to think sometimes about the Middle Ages. Let's just put this into context. In the Middle Ages, if I were to travel to the Middle Ages and bring something such as Advil or ibuprofen or a medicine like that and give it to someone that has a headache, depending on what time I had dropped into to do that, there's a very real possibility I would have been accused of being a witch for practicing magic. Why? Because they didn't understand. They didn't understand at that time how medicine worked, so it appeared to be magic and it was labeled as witchcraft. And I think we have the exact same thing going on today with energy work in religion, because it's a system that's very real, that's not understood, and because it's not understood, it appears to be voodoo or magic or coming from some spiritual entity. And I really think that the religious treatment of energy work and labeling it as demonic and things of that nature is a very, very exact same situation as in the Middle Ages, when you would be labeled as a witch for administering something medicinal that only later was understood scientific. Very few Christians today would call me a witch for curing a headache with Advil, because it's come to be understood. And my hope and my prayer is that Christians and religious people of all kinds would come to understand the scientific and real systems of energy, so we can stop demonizing it. So that's one point I want to make. Secondly, I want to say that everything is energy. And this is very relevant to healing practices. You see my dog. This is very relevant to healing practices, very relevant to spirituality. Whatever level we go to with it, it's important to understand that all things are made of energy. My body is made of energy. It's energy that keeps my body alive. And now science is able to actually measure that in some ways. Take pictures of auras and things that we haven't been able to see with our bare eye. And so all things are made out of energy, whether it's trees, whether it's rocks, whether it's my body. All things are made out of energy. And the phenomenal thing to realize is that our body actually resonates on the same frequencies as the natural elements. This is so deeply important to understand as spiritual people, because we realize that we're all one. It's in the Essene Gospel of Peace that Yeshua, Jesus, explains this, how the water in us is the same resonance as the water around us in lakes and rivers. Our bones are the same resonance as the rocks and things of that nature. And we realize that we all resonate together. It's an energetic world, and we all connect to different frequencies. This is why you feel so good when you sit in the sun or when you sit by a quiet lake. Your body begins to resonate according to the frequency that God created us to resonate. It's a very simple and very straightforward reality. Now, in a realm where you take this to a more spiritual system, you would say that that's because we're all made in the image of God, that the Creator has given life to all things and to us, and that it's that light, that energy that resonates within us as well as within all things that comes from the Creator, or as Jesus taught in the Aramaic language, that Shem, that creative principle of light that's within us. He said the kingdom of heaven, Malkuta de Shemaya, the dominion of the creative light that was at the beginning, is within us and within all things. Excuse the motorcycles. And so we recognize that it's because the Spirit of God, or as spiritual people, we would equate a lot of that energy to spirit, that intelligent energy that's in all things. That's how we would look at it as spiritual people. And so when you get into holistic healing and crystals and things of that nature, it's not that there's some demonic presence in a rock or some entity in a rock that heals you. That's not what it is at all. It's just that there's measurably energy in each different crystal, and the resonance of each different crystal is different. Different crystals have different frequencies, and those frequencies match the frequencies that certain parts of our body should be operating in that frequency. And so if you take a crystal that resonates at the same frequency of, say, your navel area, and you attune yourself to that frequency, we're just using the example of your navel area, will begin to resonate on the same frequency that it should. It'll come into the correct frequency, and then your physical ailments will begin to be healed. So this is all, it's not that there's some strange entity or strange power in the rock. It's just that holistic healing is all about recognizing how to bring our bodies into alignment and into a place of wholeness and health by attuning ourselves to these frequencies that are not only in a healthy person but also in all of creation. So that's my commentary that I wanted to make on that. I hope it's helpful. And I suppose now I'll talk about the question of how to differentiate between demonic And first I want to say that we need to look at what these demonic spirits, quote, or negative energies, or whatever you want to call it. We have to change the paradigm that we see that through, in my opinion, in order to make sense of this topic. And so oftentimes, in a religious sense, people think of demonic spirits as, how can I say this? Entities that are very different than ourselves, that are out there operating, invisible bad people that cause us to do bad things, etc. But if we realize that all things are spirit, right? God is spirit. All things have spirit within them because we proceed from God. Also, these demons or negative energies or negative spirits or whatever you want to call them, these are also spirit realities, energy realities, more so than people walking around that we can't see. And I don't want to get too deep in that. There's more to be said on that. However, we have to understand that a lot of people are afraid of accidentally entangling in demons, simply because they don't understand that you know a tree by its fruit. If I begin a spiritual practice and it begins causing life and healing and love and wisdom and a greater connectivity to Yeshua, the Christ, and to God, Creator, if that happens, then I'm obviously tapping into a spiritual frequency, if you will. I'm obviously tapping into a spirit that is good, that is helpful, that is from above. Similarly, there are other things, other spirits, if you want to call it that, or energies. I could listen to certain music and it brings me into a dark space, an angry space. We need to see these things as more real, more simple, and more profound, I suppose, and not see them as complicated, or I might get entangled with a demon and not know it. In reality, if we keep our intentions pure and we seek after that which is light, we will rise. There is a greater connectivity, or a greater partnership, if you will, between us and the demonic and the light. We'll just call it that, the darkness and the light. There's a greater connectivity than we often realize. For example, when Yeshua said to his disciples, he said that the ruler of this world was coming, the Satan, if you will, and it wasn't a problem because he had nothing in him. We basically, and I don't know how deep to go on this, I'll go deeper if you want me to, you can let me know in comments. We basically create or co-create with the dark energies and with the light energies. The Apostle James put it this way. He said, whenever you are led into error or sin or you're tripped up, he said it's because you're being drawn away of your own desires. Drawn away of your own desires. In other words, this idea that there are outside entities that have no connectivity to me, the devil made me do it kind of thing, it's not accurate. Because just like the Spirit of God, the light is within us, and we can tap into that and use it, many of us are also in partnership with lower desires, lower energies, lower self. Another thing the Apostle James said is, he said when you're fighting and quarreling and you're jealous and all these things, he said these are not from above, but they're demonic. Now by that he doesn't mean that there is some entity has nothing to do with you that taps you on the shoulder and makes you feel jealous. He's saying you're not tapping into that which is above, the light. I apologize for the noise. It's a beautiful day and all the motorcycles are out. he said when you're operating in jealousy and quarreling and anxiety and all these things, he said you're not tapping into that which is above, but all these things are earthly, he says, or lower, and demonic. And demonic means, this has to be defined, demonic in the original language simply means separated. Demonic means separated. Which means that whenever I have a mindset that is separated, which so many of us fall into, this is the ultimate work of spirituality, is to reconnect. That's what yoga means in Sanskrit, to connect. Union, it means. The word religion in Latin means to reconnect. That's not what religion is known for, unfortunately. It's not done properly a lot of times. But the ultimate work of all spirituality is to reconnect to God, our Creator, to Spirit, to reconnect to each other, to reconnect to the earth, to realize that all things are one. It's the ultimate work. And demonic in the original language, it means separated. That's all it means. So anytime I'm thinking separated, I'm thinking of myself as separate from God. I'm thinking of myself as separate from my brothers and sisters on this earth. I'm thinking of myself as separate from the earth. I'm thinking of myself as a lone ranger. I'm disconnected. It's me and them. It's me and them. It's me and the other guys. It's us and the other guys. All of this separated thinking and separated actions is demonic. That's what it means, separated. It means a mindset that's lower. It's not a high mindset. It's not a mindset that comes from above, where there's love and there's wisdom and there's insight and we realize our connection to all things. I am you and you are me. We are all one. We are all of the same Spirit and come from God, our Father, our source. So in these higher mindsets, we're operating like that, and that's what the Spirit of God will bring us to, and that's what we want. Demonic mindsets, or separated mindsets, they come from that which is lower, that which we still need to work out of us. All of these lower ways of operating, this disconnected way of operating. And so, going back to spiritual work and the concern that some have of distinguishing between, like, I don't want to get into something that's accidentally demonic. I'd like to say that, you know a tree by its fruit. And you can see examples of spiritual workers that are operating in such a way that bring you to a lower place. A gentleman who practices witchcraft the other day, he said, my practice of witchcraft is essentially all about getting whatever I want. That's disconnected, that's selfish, that's lower. If you can go to someone, pay them money, and they can pull strings to get someone to get a divorce, that's not of the light. You can tell that. It's evident. You know a tree by its fruit. If you start practicing meditation, and it opens you up to a greater connectivity to God, and you have this spiritual awakening where all of a sudden you're filled with love, filled with light, closer to the Spirit, closer to each other, you get revelations, etc. It doesn't make sense to be afraid that that's demonic, because it's not. It's a higher, it's something that's from above, something that's bringing you in a good way. And so I hope some of that made sense, and I hope some of that's helpful. There's a lot that could be cracked open and gone deeper into, but I think I'm going to leave it there for now. As always, please continue to make comments of topics or things that you'd love me to make a video on, as well as add any points or insights that you have in the comments below. We're all in this together. So much love, much light, and much peace. May we continue to move in the direction of that which is above as our entire operating system. May our operating system become that which is above and not beneath. May we find wholeness and oneness. May we all truly reconnect to one, because that's where the blessing is. Much love, much peace.